Good afternoon, Bellevue community. I'm Ivan Duran. I'm especially honored to serve as your superintendent. Our community support has been immense, and I'm grateful for every single person who has reached out to support our students. We are testing out some of our new remote learning features and ask for everybody's patience as we go through this experience in this town hall online attempt at our communication to all of you. I am joined today by Melissa DeVita, our Deputy of Operations and Finance, Eva Collins, our Deputy of Academics and Instruction, Jeff Thomas, our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, and Heather Edlin, our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning. I'm also grateful for Jason Golick in our Communication Department for all the work that they've done to help prepare us for this event today. We are all practicing social distancing, so you'll see there's only a couple people in the office with me. The rest of our staff are remotely located in places so we can honor and follow the social distance that we have in place. So these are remarkable times for our schools, for our community, and for our nation. I know that I speak for all Bellevue school employees when I say that we miss seeing our students and families in our buildings. And we are focused on creating new ways of teaching to support learning for every one of our students. Today, we are all learners, our staff, our students, our families, our entire community. We are all learning a new way of life that we have never faced before. During these times, I truly appreciate your patience, understanding, and flexibility as we work together to address new experiences before us. In the coming weeks, many aspects of our lives will continue to be significantly different from what we know and have done on a daily basis. I am grateful to be part of the supportive and innovative community as we move forward. In Bellevue schools, we have 6 values that we are committed to manifesting: service, integrity, collaboration, excellence, respect, and compassion. Especially in this time of disruption and change, Bellevue staff takes the value of service very seriously. In collaboration with our community partners, we are providing childcare for our first responders, healthcare workers, and students experiencing homelessness and other families that may have needs that we can address. We extend our gratitude to all of our first responders, healthcare workers, and community partners who are serving our community during this time. For our students, staff, and families, school is a vital part of our lives. Although we face challenges as we adjust to this public health issue, this is also an opportunity for tremendous learning as well. In the spirit of excellence, our staff have been working hard to develop and implement new tools and learning opportunities for all of our students. As we shift to implement learning and work plans for students, teachers, staff, and families, we will collaboratively redefine how learning happens. Instead of a synchronous model where students are learning together at the same time in classrooms, we may be moving to an asynchronous model where students are learning at home and independently. In addition, instead of the traditional way of assessing based on seat time or time spent at school, we will need to explore different models where students' learning will be measured by their mastery of concepts. I am deeply impressed by how many Bellevue educators are generating excitement and innovation during this time, which is creating the opportunity for us to rethink traditional educational practices and to use this disruption as an opportunity to transform how students and adults in our community learn. I assure you that we are embracing this opportunity and we are finding innovative ways to support our students and ensure that learning for all continues. This means we are developing new ways to continue to support students who have specialized needs and our most vulnerable students. I want to express how much I value the employees that make up the Bellevue schools. Despite the changes in how we work, we will continue to develop systems in place to ensure that every employee is paid. I'm also collaborating with our Teachers Association and employee bargaining groups to ensure our employees have tools and supports needed to implement our new models of learning. Before we move to the question and answer period, I want to highlight our final values: respect and compassion. During this extraordinary health crisis in our community, I humbly ask every one of you, students, adults alike, to bring these values to life. Please show respect to each other, to your families, and to everyone in our community. We are experiencing life in an unexpected way, and change can be hard and difficult. We are having to do things in new and unfamiliar ways. There's a lot of unknown and uncertainty. Because of this, we must be patient with each other. Many of us are juggling multiple responsibilities at the same time, from work to family to general life obligations. Some members of our community are handling responsibilities where they or their family members are ill. So I urge all of us, every student and every adult in Bellevue, to operate from a place of compassion. Although compassion cannot keep us from the challenges the virus is presenting, kindness can make life a bit easier and a bit nicer during these difficult times. The threat of the coronavirus can be very scary for students and adults. Fear can immobilize you, but today I am not immobilized, nor the dedicated staff members of Bellevue Schools. Instead, we are committed to being stable and positive force in our community during this remarkable time. We care about our staff, students, our families, and each other. Because I care about our employees, as well as our students, our families, we have recently implemented a mandatory closure of the majority of our district and offices and schools. This will enable our staff to practice social distancing as they will no longer be able to come into our buildings to work. In the spirit of service, we will continue to provide food and childcare for our community members who are first responders and healthcare workers, as well as for our students and families who are experiencing homelessness and other families that are experiencing challenges during this difficult time. So all those buildings that will be open, all those buildings that we have been serving childcare and nutrition services will remain open so that we can continue to provide those services to our families. I am grateful for the dedication of our community. I'm grateful to the dedication to our community has had to all of our students and the learning. On behalf of Bellevue educators, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support. We will continue to provide you with communication updates as information becomes available. Let's all please continue to live our values, especially respect and compassion. I'm now going to hand the presentation over to Jeff Thomas to do a brief overview of what we're doing with some of our staff. Jeff?
Thank you, Dr. Duran. I appreciate the opportunity to share a few things with our staff and community. First, we are committed to ensuring each and every one of our regular employees maintains their pay and security in their job status, as Dr. Duran mentioned. I think it's important to note that so many of our employees have been dislocated during this time that with over 3,000 employees, it will take us time to make sure that we connect with each and every one to ensure they have what they need. I also want to extend our sincere appreciation to the hundreds, if not thousands, of employees who not only have gone above and beyond before COVID-19, but now have gone to extraordinary lengths to try and make sure that they connect with students, connect with each others, and do whatever we can as a community to make through this crisis. Finally, I'm really proud of the relationship that we have with our various employee groups, unions, and their leaders. We will continue to work with each one of our groups to ensure that no employee is left behind as we go forward with our response to this crisis.
Back to me. Wonderful. Thank you, Jeff. And now to hand it over to Eva Collins, our Deputy of Academics and Instruction.
Thank you, Dr. Duran. As Dr. Duran said, I am in charge of academics and instruction, and I know there have been many questions about what will learning look like for our children while they're at home. And I want you to know that our teachers have been really deeply involved in learning how to provide learning opportunities to kids. Many of you have already experienced that this past week with your kids. We've received a lot of feedback, and so we're trying to be responsive and understand how that's going for families and the challenges that you're experiencing, and so that we can adapt as we just get better at rolling out these learning activities and opportunities for kids. But we want you to know that it is not our intent for students to spend hours upon hours every day in front of this screen. That is not what we want to have happen. And so our teachers are working hard to be more creative about how kids will access these learning opportunities and how they can, turn in some things, some pieces of work that teachers can look at and give them feedback on. So we're going to be learning as we go, and we'll be revising as we go. So you'll see some changes probably week upon week, and you're going to have opportunities to give us feedback as well. So we appreciate your patience with that. Our teachers really are excited about this opportunity to be innovative and creative, and so we're looking forward to that. Dr. Duran.
Thank you, Eva. I'm now going to ask Melissa DeVita, our Deputy of Operations and Finance, to share a few words.
Good afternoon. I'm so glad you guys could join us for this afternoon quick briefing on where we're at and what we're doing. Operations and Finance has been working really hard to get just some basic things up and available to our community, including childcare and food delivery services, and ensuring that our buildings are clean and can be occupied by those who need to occupy them most. So we appreciate your patience as we continue to expand these operations to meet the needs of our community, and we look forward to continuing to work with you over the coming weeks.
Very good. Thank you, Melissa. All right, we have had a number of questions that were sent in before we started the live stream today, and we also have other questions that we will be addressing throughout this presentation. So, excuse me?
You want the camera on you?
Yes. So I am going to address a few of the questions now, and then we'll be handing it back to Deputy Collins to address some of the questions, specific questions about learning experiences. Jeff Thomas will then, and then Heather Ellen will be addressing issues around special education, and Melissa will be spending more time talking about issues around operations. And finally, Jeff Thomas would do a deeper review around what we are doing to support our staff. So one of the questions that came in is, how are we ensuring that we are providing an equitable education that is meeting the needs of all of our students? And so I'm really grateful to all of our educators and staff, because we have been working and planning on this for well over 2 weeks. And it really is amazing to me that in less than 1 week ago is when we made the decision to close our schools. And I'm just deeply impressed by all the different things that we have done to really support our students, really focusing on how we can do this in the most equitable ways. One of our number one priorities has been to ensure that we are supporting our students for all their, this is one of our top priorities. I'm sorry about that. We have been working closely with our Teachers Association. We're consulting with them, and we're really working to ensure that we're supporting our students both academically, but also their social emotional needs. We have a robust collection of online and printed resources for our students. We are also prioritizing our efforts to ensure that we are providing learning experiences for all of our students. We're going to be receiving some additional guidance from the Office of the Superintendent for Public Instruction on Monday around what we can further do to support our seniors. We are really working to ensure that we are providing equitable access for our students with disabilities and our students who are acquiring English. And we are also identifying our students who have not been able to connect with or have not been participating in some type of learning experience. We have some targeted communication for them, and we are mobilizing our staff to ensure that we are connecting with our students who may not be as connected during this time. And then finally, we know that before our school closed, that we had a number of our students who needed further supports with their social, emotional, and well-being. And we are definitely putting together a really strong plan to support them, and deeply impressed by what our counseling teams have been doing in order to support all of our students, and deeply impressed by all the work that our educators are doing. And Heather will be talking about this a little bit more. Another question that came in is, how are we supporting our families who will be economically impacted by COVID-19? This again has been something that has been top of mind for me, especially recently on Sunday when Governor Inslee announced the closure of restaurants and bars. We know that many of our families are in the service industry, and we know that the economic impact of this is something that will be with us for a very long time. So as I mentioned previously, some of our priorities have been, first, ensuring that we are providing nutrition and food to our students. Melissa will be talking a little bit more around some of the specifics in terms of what we've done there. We have also prioritized childcare for our students. We have really made sure that we've prioritized our first responders, our healthcare workers, our students experiencing homelessness, and other families who are needing support. We have also been working to ensure that we are just understanding what the needs of our families are right now and not making assumptions around what they need. So we have been reaching out to our families throughout the week and having deeper conversations. The one thing that I have to say in this area is that I have been so deeply impressed by our community partners. We have so many people that have stepped up to help us with the childcare, to help us with nutrition, and I'm just really grateful for all the supports that are there. We are gathering more information around how we can guide more people to support our students, but this is something that is top of mind for us, knowing that many of our families are going to be deeply impacted for this, not only for a short period of time, for a long period of time. Another question that has come in is, how long do we expect this closure to last? So as of right now, this closure is planned to last through April 24th. However, we are also doing some anticipatory planning for a longer period of time. I have been in regular conversations with other superintendents from the Puget Sound area. The Office of Public Instruction has provided us more guidance. But as we continue to have these conversations, we know that we are closed through April 24th, but there is a possibility that this closure could go for longer. So we are really thinking about what that could look like if we do have to be closed for a longer period of time. All right, and then another question that came in, is there a confirmed case of COVID-19 in our district? At this time, there is not a confirmed case within our district. Prior to our closure, we were closely monitoring this, and we really do believe that we close at the most appropriate time. We are continually monitoring and watching the health of our staff that are in our buildings and our staff that are providing the essential services like childcare and nutrition, and we will continue to monitor this during this time. It is one of the reasons why we did choose to close our buildings at this time, because we felt that it was just important for us to honor and really utilize and implement the social distancing requirements that have been recommended to us. Okay, right now I'm going to hand this over to Eva Collins, and she's going to spend a lot more time talking about some of the questions that have been coming around the learning experiences that our students can expect. Eva?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Dr. Duran. We have a lot of questions on the instructional side about what learning will look like. And I just want you to know that we've been researching and learning from districts across the country and around the world about ideas that we should consider and incorporate and kind of the lessons learned. And so we're really grateful for that we have that resource available to us. So one of the questions that was asked was about whether or not the learning would be optional or required. And at this point, the learning has been optional, especially for this week, as we've had our teachers involved in training and preparing lessons and materials. And so learning up to this point has been optional. And moving into next week, we're going to continue with optional learning activities. And after that, we really want to move into expecting kids to participate. And as they participate, then we can gauge, how many students are able to access the learning, and we can work with individual families or students to better, to be more flexible and meet their needs. So while we move into expecting students to participate, we're going to be as flexible as we can about when they participate and how they can access the materials and the learning. Another question that came in is, what sort of instruction can families expect, and would there be some live instruction? And we know, we've said this repeatedly and we've heard this repeatedly, that we cannot expect that this remote learning experience is going to be the same, obviously, as the classroom experience. But we're really excited about trying something different. And we're really working around, so what would live instruction be like for kids? And again, whatever we provide in terms of live instruction, we want to make sure that there's some way for students to be able to access that learning at different points in the day. So we're working on some innovative ways for kids to be able to access the learning. How will assignments be graded? We're not grading assignments at this time, and we're still waiting for guidance from the state on grading. But our teachers are planning on giving feedback to students on assignments. So if they give an assignment and ask students to create something, they will be giving feedback, but not grading at this time. So we're still waiting for some more guidance from that and expect to hear from the state on that soon. Another question was, what about students who are struggling, or will there be some kind of tutorial? And yes, there will be opportunities for teachers and students to connect throughout the week. So teachers will have time built in during the week for individuals or to work with small groups or even the large group. But if a student is struggling, there would definitely be time built in for teachers to check in with kids. We also have a number of folks who are going to help us with kids who are struggling. So we have our classified staff who will be helping us, and we have other support staff who will be helping us reach out to kids who are struggling. So it won't just all fall on the shoulders of the classroom teacher. Let's see, what about parents who have kids across multiple grade levels? That goes back to the flexibility of students being able to access their learning at different times of the day. So even if the learning module or the activities are put out there at 9 in the morning, your student might not be able to access that, or might not have time to access that at that time. And so we want that to be available to them. Let's say they want to just get on at 4 o'clock. They should still be able to access those learning materials or activities. Then there was a question about how will we support students after the closure has concluded? And will a student have opportunities to make up missed work? Yes, this is all going to depend on how far we get over these, how things work out over this next few weeks, and how much learning students can actually participate in. But we will absolutely have opportunities for students to make up work after we resume school. How are we creating opportunities for students to connect with one another while school is closed? And I think this is one of our biggest challenges as both as parents and for our teachers, is that our students have not been able to connect in the social way as they had before. Fortunately, our kids have access to social media and other ways to connect, but I think this has been a challenge for our students, and our teachers are looking into creative ways to have our students connect and collaborate, perhaps online or other ways. And so that is something that we're taking into consideration. And then finally, there have been some questions about AP exams and whether or not those will continue. And we just want you to know that we have been in conversation with the College Board. And at this time, what they've done is they've delayed the AP exams, but they are aware of the full states that have had closures. And so this is something that they are looking into. But at this present moment, the AP exams have only been delayed. They haven't been canceled. Dr. Duran?
Wonderful, thank you. Before I hand it over to Heather, I know there's been a couple questions around this, what are my students' struggles with online learning? So I really want to make it clear to everyone that the original guidance that we received from the OSPI, again, which is the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, was that, if we were going to do distance learning, online learning, we were going to have quite a number of requirements that we would have to follow in order to be able to count those. They basically said to us at that time that if we couldn't do that, we shouldn't do anything for all. We have not agreed with that guidance and really believe that we have to find something in between, and that's the work that we have been really trying to develop over this last week and really over the last couple of weeks. I do know that it can be a struggle for a student to be able to be online, and that's why we are saying we are not shifting over to a complete online learning environment. It's incredible, difficult to even think the possibility of being able to do that. And I think that we are really trying to find that space in between where we're providing experiences for our students. And so my hope is that your student that could be struggling, or students who could struggle in that online environment, are still going to be receiving some information, content, resources they can do offline. Because as Eva Collins mentioned earlier, we do not want our students to be online throughout the whole day. We want them to be able to have really wide range of robust experiences they can have. So I'm going to hand this over now to Heather Unless, who's going to be talking a little bit more about how we're supporting some of our other students.
Yeah, thanks. So good afternoon, I'm Heather Edlund, Executive Director for Teaching and Learning, and I oversee some of our programs that support students with special needs, our counseling departments, things like that. So I'm going to answer a few of the questions that have been coming forward related to those topics. So the first one I'll answer is, how are we supporting students with special needs? And I think the first thing that we want to just say is that the things that are available to our students who are general education students are also available to our students with IEPs. Every student is a general education student first, and so it's really important to us that they have accessibility in those general education settings, as well as receiving additional supports and instruction based on their IEP goals. And just as with our general education setting, those supports and services will look different in this time frame, but not all of those will necessarily need to be remote or online. That was another part of the question. So right now we're following the guidance from the U.S. Department of Education and the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. And that's really been evolving. There was a webinar this morning about that. We're expecting additional guidance this afternoon to be posted on the OSPI website. But from what we heard in the webinar this morning, there's kind of three main priorities for serving our students with special needs. The first one being safety, and I think that's our overall priority for all students. So not just our students with special needs, but the students in our school district. Then the second one is service. We want to ensure that students are getting some services. We know that this right now is a closure through April 24th. And as Dr. Duran said, contingently, we're planning for potentially longer. And so getting some services to students is very important as well. And our last worry is really about compliance. And there was a real big push today to really not operate from a place of fear and to really partner with families in order to be able to provide equitable services. And so the guidance we've been receiving is to do what we can and document what we can't for you. And that may mean that we offer some compensatory ed following the closure. And kind of a practical example of what some of the things that are looking like is I just have to commend our educators because they're extremely innovative and amazing and so dedicated to serving our students. And so a lot of their things are activities that they could do outside of even the remote learning activities. So today I was looking at some of the lessons for one of our life skills classrooms, and it was around recipes and cooking and meeting math goals. There were social emotional goals that were being met through breathing exercises and different kinds of activities. So just really innovative things that involve both online activities as well as kind of things to do around the house during this time. The second piece that I was asked to speak to today has to do with support for our students who are receiving mental health services. And these questions kind of came in two chunks. The first chunk being around our students who are already receiving some type of mental health services. And so I want you to know that we're working in conjunction with our community partners that have been amazing and making sure we have reached out to the students who are receiving mental health services as of right now. They're going to be putting in support schedules and continuing to meet with those students, be that via the Teams application, be that phone calls, be that ongoing email communications, text conversations, whatever that might be, to ensure that our students are getting what they need. We're also working on an application with YES, Youth Eastside Services, that would provide an opportunity for confidential therapy sessions with students. So we're working on implementing that technology. And then I think the other piece is just a recognition that we have some students we know about, but these are kind of new times, and more students are feeling isolated, more adults are feeling isolated, maybe more anxious about the current situation, et cetera. And so all of our learning plans have an emphasis on social emotional learning for all students in the general education and the special education setting. We're really focusing on how do we ensure that all students know who they can reach out to if they feel like they need to talk to someone or need support. So our counselors right now, all of them have been sending out contact to their particular students in their alphabetical caseloads or the elementary schools. I want you to know that everyone all of our counselors, all of our staff here in the central office, Deb Kraft, the director of counseling, are monitoring our emails regularly. And so email is a really fast and efficient way. If you need immediate support, you can let us know that way, and we'll continue to do that. And I just want you to know that there's been some questions around how we support potential suicidal ideation, since we don't have the opportunity to meet with students face-to-face as we once did. And so we have put into place a plan around supporting students. Our first plan will be to get a hold of students and try to work with them and create some kind of plan that we can continue to share with their family virtually. But if we can't get in touch with families, we will be calling families to let them know about concerns. If we can't get in touch with families, we will be doing home visits or welfare checks with our local police department, and if it escalates that far, we'll be calling 911. So that's our suicide intervention plan at this point. So I turn it over, I think, to Melissa.
Yes, and we'll have Melissa DeVito, who is our Deputy of Operations and Finance, share a little bit more around some of the work we've been doing in this area.
Thank you. So there's a lot of questions around food and nutrition services, and we were very happy that we could get nutrition services up and going so quickly. And while it was at the schools where we had childcare going on, we are working on expanding that. So one of the questions that we got is, will we have pickup locations on the west side? We are expanding it throughout the community. We anticipate having 5 pickup locations on the west side of the 405, including Medina, Clyde Hill, Hope Link, and Anatai in the downtown library. We are expanding it also to other areas of town, including the north end, south end, and throughout. We're looking at pickup locations in apartment complexes, at parks, at schools, at places where the bus can pull off the road and be there for 10, 15 minutes to give people a chance to come and pick up meals for their students. Another question was around, do we have plans to deliver food? We are working through the distribution at this time. And then after we get that wide distribution center put into place, then we will work through any individual delivery needs that there are. So stay tuned for that. Another question was, are there options to pick up laptops and hotspots outside of the posted times? We are happy to support these one-off requests as needed. Please contact us either via the contact link on the COVID-19 page, or you can call our technology help desk at 456-4321 to make arrangements for drop-offs or other ways to get your equipment. Another question that came up is, if we run out of hotspots, are there other ways for families can access Wi-Fi? I know that there are some access points in our community that are provided by Xfinity and others, so we can get information out on that. We have just over 650 hotspots that we are working to get distributed out, and stay tuned on that. We've got some more on order, but they, as you can guess, have become a very hot commodity, and so there's some back orders going on with that. Will fields be open for students to use? Yes, they currently are open and will continue to be open. We urge you to practice social distancing, but I know that kids get really antsy when they're at home and the weather is starting to get nice. So it's nice to be able to get out and let kids run around a little bit on those nice open spaces. So please feel free to access them, but practice social distancing when you do. And that is it. And I think, Jeff, you are up next to talk about human resources.
That is correct.
Melissa. So from human resources, one of the questions is, how are we supporting staff during the closure? And in general, we've deployed human resource staff and additional staff essentially to look at whatever we can to support employees in need. And that's really a pretty broad spectrum. But the most important thing that we're wanting to ensure is creating stability for staff around their salary and benefits. As an example, we've made a commitment to all of our regular employees that they will continue to be paid for their base wages during the closure, as long as we have the ability to identify their individual situation and what's going to work for them. This is really important for our classified staff, and we have many of our staff that are worried that if they can't come to work, will they get paid? And we have worked on a process with our various union leaders, and we have a process in place to take care of those staff. Another question, how are we supporting staff who fall into the high-risk categories? We essentially have created a special leave category for those employees that if they are in a risk category and are no longer able to report to work, that they will have a special leave that will keep them in a paid status, but it will not count towards their sick leave. Another question was, how are we supporting our early learning staff who are providing childcare? Well, first, we wanted to extend a sincere appreciation to our staff who are providing childcare, who are providing meals, who are connecting with the community, who are cleaning our schools, who are doing the important things that we have to do. But one of the things that we are doing is we are making sure that we take care of their support needs, that we have staffing available, and we're looking at ensuring that they are compensated appropriately for any additional work that they do. One of the questions is, what options do we have for staff that are providing childcare or that they have issues with childcare? Again, if the childcare issue is something that causes them not to be able to report to work, then we are working with them on flexible options, which includes the ability to work from home if possible, but also the alternate work assignments, or if there is no other choice, then we will look at creativity with their leave options. One of the questions was, what are the expectations for bus drivers? First, we are so appreciative of our bus drivers because of the great work they do every day. One of the expectations is that if they're available to drive and we need them, if we call them, that hopefully they'll be able to drive. We're not requiring our bus drivers to do that. We are committing to them, just like we did to other classified employees, that we will continue to pay their base wages on their regular assignments through the closure, and then we will make sure that those who do additional work are compensated. And we will also provide the opportunity for them to do professional development or other items, but they will continue to be in paid status throughout the closure. Will spring athletic coaches be paid? We are in the process of finalizing what we're going to do with spring coaches. We do have a meeting with the president of the Coaches Association tomorrow morning, Pat Jones, and hopefully in that phone call, we will have a final answer to that question. Last question that I have, how are we supporting educators who are also caring for their own children while at home? One of the most important things that we are doing is providing flexibility, and people are going to be able to work from home and have the flexibility to deal with their own childcare. We are not locking our employees in to the same schedule that they would have if they were coming to work, but rather we're just being more flexible around what we can have them do, and give them the opportunity to make sure that they can recalibrate this new balance that all of us are having to recalibrate between work and home.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jeff. We've had a couple questions that have come in, and before we go to those questions, I want to make sure and just really take the time to express some gratitude. First off, I really just want to thank our school board for all the work that they've been doing from communicating with their constituents in our community, hearing concerns, hearing some of the praises, hearing some of the opportunities that we could be thinking about as a school district. So I'm just really grateful for all the work they've done. They've reached out to the Office of Superintendent for Public Instruction to seek additional guidance and to support some of the big questions that we have. They're working with the state director associations to provide more guidance. And then most of all, one of the things I really appreciate is just the collaborative nature that we've had across school districts, from our board directors talking to other board members, to myself talking to other superintendents. Just really grateful for their leadership during this time, and just really thankful for all the work that they're doing. We're also thankful for a number of our larger businesses around our community that have really stepped up and helped us out. T-Mobile has been helping us with some of the hotspots, and although they've given us a discount, we're really grateful for that discount because they are really supporting our students who really need that. Who obviously, we have a number of students who do not have internet access at home, and so coupling the hotspot with the laptops that we have, especially for our secondary students, is really a game changer for a lot of our students. Trader Joe's donated a whole bunch of food this week. We were able to get that organized and distributed to our families. Amazon has been supporting us. We have a big order in for them, and they're really being creative in terms of how they can actually deliver more meals and other items to our families directly. Microsoft has also been very supportive and helpful for us and reached out to us. Their whole education team is supporting us as we roll out the remote learning tool called Microsoft Teams. This is what we're using today, and so they have basically been supporting us in many, many ways. I'm also really grateful to the Boys and Girls Club. They are providing childcare in their centers and in one of our buildings. And from the very beginning, they were really, at the forefront of us thinking about how we could really support our students, and just really thankful for that partnership and what they're doing to support all of our students here within the district. The Bellevue School Foundation has just done a wonderful job. Yesterday, the board of directors for the Bellevue School Foundation gave the district $50,000 that we can utilize in order to support our students' nutrition needs. So grateful for that flexibility and ability that we have. So there are so many of our partners, from Bellevue Life Springs, who actually had the breakfast for our students on Monday morning delivered to the school sites. We're grateful for that work. Jubilee Reach, which has their center open up, and they're providing, services to their students, and Rainer Athletes supporting their students from afar. We have so many great partners in our community, and just really thank you all for how all you're doing to support our students and how you're supporting all of us in our work and our efforts to ensure that no one is left behind. One question that has come in is, how can I help families that don't have enough food to eat right now? I would really encourage people to consider making donations to, Bellevue School Foundation, Bellevue Life Springs, some of the other nonprofits that provide food to our families. We've recently heard that Bellevue Life Springs, one of our primary food support providers to our families, is almost out of food resources, and we really rely on them in normal circumstances. So in these really different circumstances now, we know that the need for food is just going to increase, and we're going to have to really keep supporting the different organizations that are helping our families with food. I'm going to go look at a few other questions that are here right now. One question that has come up is, how will we manage spring sports if schools resumed in April? So we are still awaiting guidance from our the Washington Athletic Association and other league regulations. As of now, we haven't heard any guidance on there, so we will be waiting for that information so that we can then make decisions on, what spring season could look like if we do come back after April 24th. It looks like there's a question on how will students make up volunteer hours missed. So it says, for current seniors, we'll wait for the information that will come out on March 23rd to better understand any revisions to graduation requirements such as volunteer hours. We may need to adjust the volunteer hours expectations. For other high school students, we will again follow any guidance that we will be receiving from OSPI, again, the Office for the Superintendent for Public Instruction. So again, a couple questions that have popped up here. I'm just going to take these on right away, even though I addressed it earlier. I think it's important to still address it now. And so, will students be able to graduate on time? And then what about graduation? So again, we are expecting more guidance from OSPI on Monday, March 23rd, and they will be providing more information to us on what we can be doing to support our students. So we ask everybody to be patient as we wait for that guidance. And as soon as we know that, we will share that with all of you. I can tell you that Our executive directors and our school leaders and staff and educators already have a plan in place in terms of how they will be supporting our students. But once we get that guidance, that will help provide more direction for us. Another question, which I think is a good one, especially thinking about what we're trying to do right now in this online environment, will online sessions be recorded and will students be able to use their webcams? And so we are really just relying on our educators to use their best judgment in those situations. It is not required for our educators to record their lessons. And so the ability for students to be able to webcam or use their webcams and when there is a live session, will really be up to our educators to make some of those decisions. The primary tool that we are using is Microsoft Teams. We're really grateful that we were able to have our educators come in last Friday because we were able to do some additional training for them. But however, we know that the comfort level and ability to use that really varies, and so we really just want to be patient with our educators as they test out these tools. But again, we still have our other online resources. We still have the content that's posted in OneNote. So there's still a lot of resources that are available. All right, coming down here. Eva, do you want to actually, I'll take this one. How will PE dance music class be held remotely? We don't have a solid answer for you on that right now. However, I do know that there is a lot of creativity and different ideas that people are doing right now to really think about what that could look like. One of the things that I've been just really impressed with and just proud of is just the number and amount of collaboration that is happening within our learning organization as we try to figure this out. So we really are asking our educators to, think outside the box, to be innovative, be creative, and think about how they can post different kind of content for our students to be experiencing. So be watching for some changes in terms of some of the ability or things that we're going to be providing to our students in the future. Okay, we right now say what about state exams and STAR assessments? So we did recently receive guidance from OSPI that all state exams are canceled for this school year. And with our STAR assessments, which are internal assessments that we use for reading and math, right now we cannot give those assessments to our students. And so if we do come back after April 24th, we will be definitely thinking about how we can better utilize and actually assess our students utilizing those tools. All right, looking at the questions here, if there's any other ones that have popped in one moment. Well, students have access to school counselors. Heather, do you want to talk about that a little bit? I know you addressed it a little bit. So.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So yes, our students will have access to their counselors. So our counselors are setting up, as I mentioned before, schedules with the students that they have regular check-ins with already. And then every counselor is ready, willing, and able to meet with other students as well. Right now, the most efficient way to schedule a time with them would be by email, but they're working on using a scheduling tool that would provide you greater ease to see their availability so you could find a mutually agreeable time. So that information will be coming out here soon. But yes, our counselors will be continuing to support our students during this time.
Okay, Heather, can you also address about materials for pickup? What kind of materials do we provide?
I can. So as we continue through the closure, we will be expanding and continuing to provide materials for students to use as long as it remains safe to do so. As I mentioned before, safety does remain the #1 priority during this time, and so we want to keep you healthy. So as materials become necessary, if they're not something that you have access to, we will be providing at the same kind of places where we have our meal pickups, resource pickups. So we're working with our educators on identifying what some things are, common things are that students may need to engage in the activities that are being provided to them, and making sure that those materials are accessible, as well as providing print copies of anything we can for any educators any educators are creating, so that they can provide those to families who need them.
All right, there was a question here. I don't know, Melissa, if you can take the question about, I don't know if you addressed, if we run out of hotspots, are there other ways families can access Wi-Fi, Xfinity Wi-Fi spots, etc.?
Yeah, so we are continuing to work at that. I know that, for example, the city has some hotspots around our community, Xfinity has some in the community. And so we're working on identifying where those locations are and how to provide that information to families. So that's on our list of things to do, and we will get that out to people as soon as we can.
Okay, question has come up around, will we be using spring break for learning? As of right now, we will stop student learning during the scheduled spring break. That is a schedule that we have, as part of our negotiations and work that we have with our association. So as of right now, we will stop student learning during spring break unless we hear otherwise from OSPI.
However, Ivan, this is Melissa. We are going to we're going to continue our childcare and our nutrition services work over that spring break period.
Wonderful. Thank you for that clarification, Melissa. And in case you didn't hear that, during spring break, we will still be providing nutrition to our students and families, and also childcare during that time frame. So one question is, will we provide guidance for parents on how to support student learning at home? And so we will be continually updating the resources for parents on how to support student learning at home. Most of that is being posted online. And if you do have the opportunity to be able to go online, we'd really appreciate for you to give us feedback on what you think about the materials that are online and what we've posted, how easily they're accessible and useful. If you have ideas for other resources, we are definitely open to ideas and suggestions you can provide to us. On one hand, we're very grateful for some of the vendors and partners that we work with for some of our curriculum. Many of them have actually opened up their entire curriculum options for us to use online. And so we're really grateful for them to be able to do that, because that, again, just provides more resources for students and families to use at home. But we will be providing more guidance to our families in that area. And one of the questions came in is, how are we supporting parents who have students in the advanced learning program and advanced learning educators? We provide them learning opportunities, just as our general education teachers. So we're asking them to reach out and connect with students and think about how they can provide different learning experiences for the students as well. All right, again, going through here again. Will there be options for grade level team meetings with families? Well, I think there are multiple ways for educators to meet with families during this time. I think there's opportunities for families to connect over Microsoft Teams, to be able to use phones. We really are encouraging our educators to use Microsoft Teams, because we really want to ensure that we are capturing the information and questions that are coming in. Just want to make sure that we keep our educators safe also. So I do think there could be opportunities, but again, we are going to be relying on our educators to be thinking about what's going to be the best ways to communicate with families and students, whether that's through email, through Teams, or through OneNote, where we have so many of our resources online already.
Microsoft Teams also provides its translation functionality and closed captioning functionality. So for those who may communicate in another language or having a hearing impairment, it does provide greater accessibility too.
I'm looking at some other questions that have come in here now. Trying to make sure I'm not missing any and getting all the ones that were popping online here. So will students have to make up missed work over the summer? So at this point, I think it's probably premature for us to think about missed work over the summer. One of the things is really going to be dependent on if the school year is, if the closure is extended beyond April 24th. So as I mentioned earlier, we are already thinking about longer term plans in that area. We will definitely be looking at how we can best use, summer school for our students. Really about how we can better support our students, provide additional support. But even knowing where we are right now and that this closure is going to go through April 24th, we really believe our summer school program and options that we've done in the past will probably have to look significantly different so that we can support our students in terms of things that they are critical for them to either get caught up or to make up from this time that we're closed. Okay, awesome, thank you. I just got the 5-minute time, so I'm trying to look at some of the other questions that are here. We're talking about the school year be extended. We're not sure about that yet. Materials being picked up. where can we find the schedule for online learning? So again, we have been really conscious of using the term remote learning experiences that we are providing to our students. We are working closely with our Teachers Association right now, so we're hopeful that we'll be able to provide more information on that tomorrow. We are, as I said earlier, still continually updating the online resources that we have online, but we're really hopeful that we're going to be able to provide some additional guidance for what families can expect in terms of some of the learning opportunities that students will be able to receive starting next week. As we think about this schedule, we are definitely thinking about how we can be as flexible as possible, and we will definitely be communicating that with parents as soon as possible. And question, let's see. If my student didn't retrieve all the materials or laptop from school, will they have a chance to pick them up? And the answer to that question is yes. We will let families know where and how to pick up materials needed. So that is one thing that we'll be able to do. As we start to wrap this up, since the question is about learning, I'm going to just hit this one too. Do we have plans to use other online learning tools like Apex? So as of right now, Apex is our primary tool for our secondary students to get online learning. We are looking at other tools, but as of right now, that will be our primary tool that we will be using. We definitely are looking at some other options. And then finally, one of the things that we are really trying to think about how we can have a better form of two-way communication. And Jason, is there a way for me to actually share my screen so I can go to the main page and pull up okay, I'm not be able to share my screen, but one of the new features that we have added to our website is an application that's called Let's Talk. We have been piloting this tool in our Transportation and Human Resources Department, and Mackenzie is actually going to try to get this launched for us here so you can see this. But basically what this is, it's a little pop-up window that will show up on the web page, and it then allows you the ability to be able to go in and to give us feedback. We will have some specific areas like nutrition, technology, childcare, other, I don't remember all the list right now, but there'll be definitely ways for you to actually go and choose a subject, identify if you're a parent, a student, a community member, and then actually even pose a question. That'll directly go to the staff member that's responsible for that area, and then we will get back to that family as soon as possible, as well as keeping track of those questions. So that's a new feature that we will be launching that I believe is live on our website right now. And I know they're trying to pull it up on our screen. I'm not sure if it's going to be possible or not, but know that if you go to our website, just look for a little tab that says Contact Us. Is that correct? Yes, that says Contact Us, and you will be able to provide more feedback to us. We are trying to post that live right now so you can actually see that on our website and see where that link is located. So you see on our website there's a little tab that pops up that says Contact Us, and then there will be a window that pops up that will allow you to be able to address a specific area. And again, that's a way for us to be able to have better two-way communication with all of you as we move throughout this closure period. So I know we were not able to, thank you, Mackenzie, for showing that. So I know we were not able to get through all the questions, so we will take those questions that we were not able to answer, and we will get those posted out as soon as possible. So once again, I just really want to go back and thank all of you for your patience, your understanding, and your support as we work ourselves through this amazing time in our history. I was reminded today that, we haven't had anything like this for well over 100 years. And here we are, well into the 21st century, dealing with something that is impacting us in so many ways. I never thought I would be leading the school district as a superintendent and facing this type of crisis in this time, but just know that we are definitely mobilizing as best as possible and as quickly as possible. I'm grateful to our educators and all of our staff that have just been doing amazing work to really be thinking how we can really support our students in the best way possible. And grateful again to all of our community support providers, and everybody that has just really kicking in right now to help us support our students and families in the best way possible. So thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you for being part of Bellevue School District. I look forward to having more of these sessions. I hope they went well, and please give us feedback on the Let's Talk feature of our website. And again, just thank you.